Hey, ENTV. Lovely to see ENTV members here. Hey, did any of you guys get kicked out of Facebook today like I did and like Ginny and Matthew did? Well, hopefully you're back on, and when you're seeing this recording, you'll be seeing Ginny Wimmer, who's part of our Catapult program and Catapult Plus program, interviewing today Matthew. And Matthew is going to be talking about his business and what he's up to in the world. So, Ginny, I'll turn this over to you. And Matthew, super excited to hear your story.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Amos. And hello, Matthew. I'm so excited to be here with you and learn more about you. So if you wouldn't mind, if you would introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you're about.
Well, thanks, Ginny. And thanks, Amos. It's great to be here with you both as well. Feel very honored. And yes, me personally, background, wanted to be a professional athlete, ended up separating both my shoulders the year I won a national championship. That ended that dream. So I moved into the fitness world and spent well over a decade helping people reclaim their health, getting pharmaceutical drugs out of their system, and utilizing the power of their mind and movement and good nutrition to heal themselves and get moving. And had a lot of fun doing that, made a lot of positive impact, and continued to love the ability to make an impact in people's lives. So after leaving working in the gyms, I moved into the supplement space and actually brought a network marketing company into the Canadian market, built a business there that did over 13 million a month in sales of a meal replacement shake in conjunction with exercise. So I had a lot of success in the network marketing model, and then started my own t-shirt brand called Let's Hug It Out. That business had a simple mission to spread hugs, positive vibes, and happiness around the world simply by wearing a shirt. Sold t-shirts all over the world, had a lot of fun. A lot of people said that was the most valuable t-shirt they ever owned because of the residual value they got when they put that t-shirt on. They knew what it stood for. They got all kinds of smiles and hugs and happiness from other people. So they loved it. So I want to get that business going again. It's been on a temporary hiatus, but it's time to get going. And I moved from there into a young entrepreneur development organization called Young Pros. Went to colleges and universities and taught kids about entrepreneurship. Then got into the solar industry, spent 5 years there running my own business. And during the stuff that went on in 2020, ended up having to make a pivot, had to close that company down, and started working in the United States and became head of business development for a large US solar firm, built an install network across 23 US states. And as I was doing that, I came across a company called Food Forest Abundance. And my original intention was to unify those two organizations together. Everybody installing a solar array on their house, they're looking for other ways to be more self-sufficient, whether they realize it or not, and vice versa. Anybody putting a permaculture food forest on their property, well, they're looking for other ways to be more self-sufficient too. So I felt there was a good opportunity for collaboration. However, at the time, the solar business wasn't ready for it. So as I got to learn more about what Jim Gale and Food Forest Abundance was up to, I realized there was a much greater opportunity for impact across the earth, and that really abundance is everywhere. We've just been fooled. So I made a pivot. I resigned from my role and came over here. Literally had zero experience in the food production space, zero experience with permaculture, but that didn't matter. I was eager, willing to learn, and excited for the opportunity to help people. And ultimately, our goal at Food Forest Abundance is to build a localized, decentralized food supply and really get food forests installed in every community and every yard around the world.
Well, can I ask you how are you doing that? And how can we help you spread that word?
Well, we are doing that by educating people about permaculture, permanent agriculture, which most people have never heard of. When people think about food production, they typically default to one of two images: an annual garden or a monoculture farm. And we're neither of those. And both of those fight nature every step of the way, which is why they're hard, time consuming, and need so many chemical inputs, because they fight nature, and nature is relentless. So we flip it on its head. We utilize permanent agriculture, leveraging edible perennial plants, which, by the way, there's over 600,000 edible perennial plants. And we let nature do what it does best. We just provide the ideal environment for it to function. So you can think about us like replacing ornamental landscapes with edible landscapes. Our target market when we began was the suburban backyard, but that's quickly turned into schools and churches and orphanages and prisons and hotels and resorts and golf courses and developments and homesteads and everything in between. And we've done this now in the past we'll be 3 years old in April. We have now done food forest designs in 54 countries and over 850 of them completed to date and really gaining momentum. So although we're early days, the mission is strong. People are realizing every day that our current food system is broken, that unfortunately there's a lot of poison sprayed on our food, and that's ending up in our bodies, making people sick. So we need to do something about that. And our belief is we need to stop fighting nature and start embracing the brilliance of nature and work with nature and let nature do what it does best. And we just be good stewards.
That's so beautiful. I'm so in alignment with everything you're sharing. So if somebody's new to all this, how can they get started or how can they learn more about this?
Everybody pretty much is new to this, right? Most people, we've given away our power of food to somebody else, right? We've centralized control over our food system to these big corporations, and they put things in boxes and bags and cans. We don't get the healthy food the same way we used to. And here's something interesting that I recently learned. Why do you think they put the fresh fruits and vegetables right at the front of the grocery store?
Why?
What would you guess?
Just to be the first thing you see.
That's right. So then you feel less guilty about buying all the other crap that's in there. That's true. Psychologically, they put the healthy food right when you walk in. And most of the time, they make you walk right. And it's all a psychological operation to make you feel like you've bought some of the good stuff. So you literally don't feel bad buying all of the stuff in the boxes and the bags and the cans. That is literally processed food full of chemicals, unfortunately. And it's not that these companies are bad. It's just about making profit. And it's cheaper if they can get away with putting fractions of things inside the stuff and utilize cheap processes and fillers and chemicals to make what we call food so they can make a bigger profit, right? So what people can do is start opening their mind to the possibilities, realize that nature does provide abundance. And as far as like getting started from a food forest abundance perspective, well, we offer what's called a strategy session. This is a 30-minute complimentary session where they meet with a certified permaculture designer and they can discover what's true for their property. So they sit down with somebody who's an expert in that field. They'll talk about what that person is hoping for, what they'd like. They'll look at their property and they'll figure out what can be done with what you have. And it's not about having a massive yard. Everybody's got, well, most people, unless they live in a condo, they've got some sort of green space on their properties and they can grow things there. Usually what we grow is an ornamental landscape that actually is a liability. If you think about assets and liabilities, our grass is a liability. It doesn't want to be there. It takes our money, time, and resources to care for it. And it doesn't produce us anything. You could switch that all into something edible. And when you work with permaculture, because you work in layers of production, you can actually generate a bunch of energy from that property, not just that single layer like a monoculture grass. So in this situation, we could put in roots and tubers. We can put in ground cover and small shrubs and larger bushes. You can put in understory trees and canopy trees. You can put in vines and mushrooms. And in there, in that 7 layers of production, you can produce a massive amount of food. As an example, a 1-acre food forest will outproduce a 5-acre monoculture farm and have massive diversity. As another example, we have a food forest in northern Minnesota, tip of Lake Superior, over 300 different edible perennial plants in that system. Massive diversity. And it produces a massive amount of food, and it attracts nature in it. And because that nature is coming into it, it's growing in size. And a food forest is a self-regulating system, which is beautiful. Because people, who has time today to be a farmer? I don't. I don't have a green thumb. I can't grow things. Nature grows stuff. So when you build a food forest, it becomes a self-regulating system. It controls its own growing. We don't see anything as weeds. Weeds are a term that we've created to whatever, keep our grass being the nicest in the neighborhood. Meanwhile, everything can be utilized to some degree, especially when it's designed appropriately.
That's exciting. And you answered my question in the process when you mentioned Minnesota, that it doesn't matter what zone you live in, there's a process, right?
Yes. What's important is that you utilize plants for that climate zone. Every climate zone has things that grow there, and that's what we utilize in said specific area. So what people are growing in the equatorial region is different than what I'm growing here in northern Canada, right? Everybody's got a different climate zone, and we design with that in mind. An amazing thing is that we can actually help create new climates in areas. As we bring nature back into the mix, it will help generate appropriate climate for that new area. As an example, we can green the desert, literally, not hypothetically. It's been done. If you want proof, go to YouTube and look up greening the deserts. There's all kinds of video of them taking once barren landscape and turning it into a lush, green, food-producing system. So we're actually working on a project right now in Saudi Arabia. We've just submitted a huge proposal because they're intent on greening the desert, and we intend to help them.
That's so amazing. I just got 1,000 questions popping in my mind.
Ask away.
Well, I heard once too that it's better to eat food from your area than to have it shipped in across the world.
Definitely. And let's think about this type of thing. If we believe the climate change narrative, why does it make sense that we send food hundreds or thousands of miles to us? If we believe that we are negatively impacting our ecosystem and climate by burning fossil fuels, why are we doing that? Why isn't the messaging from the people who are telling us this story to get growing some of your own food? Get producing some, even if it's a little bit. If everybody produced some, that would be a reduction in the negative impact of the other thing, right? Or how about this one? If we believe the story of pandemics, well, the people who were the sickest were the people who were already the sickest. So why do we keep making our food something that makes us sick? Shouldn't we be, again, encouraging people to consume healthier food, right? If you think about the food that comes from something you pick yourself, that plant is alive. It's got life force energy in it. You go outside and you pick that thing and you eat it and you haven't sprayed it with a chemical, you're taking something that's alive and consuming it. You're getting life force energy in you immediately. I think that would improve our health as a society, right? We look back on that event from 2020 on, the majority of people who were sick had 4 comorbidities, 4 of them. How do we get those people healthier in the first place? I know if I was in a position to have influence on that from a political standpoint, I'd be saying it's time for us to take our food back into our own hands instead of pandering to the chemical businesses and the big agriculture businesses. It's time for the people to start growing some stuff. so that we can ensure we have a healthier population.
That's
right?
beautiful. That's so spot on. So what would be some parting words that you could share today that would help somebody get started?
Well, one that immediately comes to mind is, although the problems of the world seem increasingly complex, the solutions remain embarrassingly simple. The solution to many of our serious challenges today is it's all around us. It's reconnecting with nature. See, we have a belief currently, or at least we're being led this direction, that we're separate from nature. Meanwhile, we are nature. We're alive just like nature is. And if we start embracing the power that nature has, the incredible brilliance and abundance, nobody's watering your forest or mine, right? People aren't watering the forest. We can mimic that natural system and produce an abundance of food. And when everybody has an abundance of healthy, poison-free food, imagine where we can now redirect our energy, where we can direct some of our financial resources. What else can we come up with as creative beings, right? When we're sick, all we can focus on is not being sick. When we have our health, we can focus on everything that's important to us, right? And from there, what can the brilliance of humanity create for everybody? There should not be a single person in the world today that doesn't have food, unless we have a centralized food production system that is all about making money.
No,
You see,
I'm
there's
with
no
you.
money in it. There's no money in abundance. We have abundant energy. We have abundant water. We have abundant food. The most primal basic needs are all abundant here for us. So it's time to unlock them.
That's so beautiful. Amos, I was wondering if you had any questions or final words.
You made a statement, Matthew, twice at the beginning, and you said, it's something along the lines of, we're fighting nature by, can you go into that more? We're fighting by having, as opposed to letting it do what it's naturally going to do.
Yes. So the way we grow food today literally fights nature. So think about it this way. If I have a monoculture farm, the only thing that I want to grow in my farm is the thing I want to grow. So what do? I spray a toxic chemical or multiple chemicals on my property to kill the insects, to kill any wildlife that may go in there, to kill all the other plants that could possibly grow. But nature doesn't do that. Nature is incredibly diverse. But because we do that, we're fighting nature, right? If you left that monoculture farm and didn't touch it, would it stay a monoculture system? No. We do the same thing in our annual gardens. When people have their annual garden in their backyard or front yard, wherever they put it, they till the soil. They go out there and they weed it regularly because they don't want anything else in there. They fight nature. They only want what's there to grow. Both of those scenarios are resource heavy, are time heavy, and effort heavy. Because of that, it's inefficient. So our belief is we should stop doing that. Let's not fight nature. Let's let nature do what it does best, which is produce abundance and diversity, and empower it by being good stewards.
You've given us a lot to think about this morning, that's for sure.
Good. If people want to find us, if they'd like to explore what's possible for them, they can go to forestabundance.com. And in there, book a complimentary strategy session to meet with somebody. They may end up meeting with me. And we can explore what's possible. We're all about making an impact with kids. We believe that if we can help children reconnect to nature, get established in being self-sufficient with their food production, we can change the landscape for the future for the better. So part of our mission is to install food forests in schools all across the world. Help kids have a healthier lunch or breakfast, whatever it is. Help children reconnect with nature, help them care for something, give them purpose, love, etc. So part of what we want to be doing is giving proceeds towards food forests in schools.
That is definitely our future, and molding the minds of young children before they've been indoctrinated with lack.
Yes.
And the processes that we have is our biggest hope for changing the future. Matthew,
Yes.
it's been a pleasure to talk to you this morning, and we will post a link down in the comments for people to be able to get in touch with you and have this 30-minute session of learning what they can do. I can't thank you enough for doing what you do and being on this journey.
Thank
Amos,
you so much, Ginny.
you're welcome. Amos, you have anything?
Yeah, Matthew, after we'll be tagging you in this, and
Okay.
you'll go and please go and post any links you have. Go into the Facebook and post any links. And thanks so much for being on Empower Network TV today and for being a part of this training process we're going through. So,
you're very welcome. Thank you for having me. Awesome what you've set up here. Glad to support it.
Awesome. We'll end the broadcast here.